You everyone, how's it going? Hey, it's Thursday. Hope you're doing good and life is treating you well. It's the only way to be that I know of. And I can see that I am actually ahead of the live show before y'all see it. So anyway, good to see you. Thank you everyone who is watching. I invoke favor over your lives, favor over this show, and favor for the next hour. Let's have fun. You know, I think so often we get so engrossed in controversy. We seem to love controversy. And if there isn't a controversial issue, we will make one. It seems like if there's more than one, then we have controversy. So, yeah, Brian Knight, just fighting through the pain. Brian, is that a colloquialism or did you really hurt yourself? Hello, Lori. Good to see you. Gary, Sarah, Deborah, Laura Kimball. Good to see you. Brian, Donna Bell. Hello. Chelsea Rose. How are you? Going to have Chelsea on next week, folks. Zora Dak. Hello. How are you? Haven't seen you here before, but welcome. Jamma Baker. Franny, how are you? Controversy brings me to hell. Yeah, it does a lot of us, doesn't it? Knowledge Seeker, good to see you. Hey, Lois, how are you doing? Warrior Princess, folks. Troy, good to see you. Plower, how the heck are you? Patrick, good to see you, buddy. Boy, our video was I will tell you this, Patrick, when we get together next week, that video is actually being seen by more people than what, and it actually turned out, it shows you what favor will do. It's exactly what it'll show you. So we'll have a good story on that. Hassan, good to see you. Welcome. Truth Seeker, how the heck, yeah, I saw those pictures. Very interesting. A lot of changes, folks. A lot of changes. I mean, it's like every day you wake up, changes everywhere. And how many of you empaths out there? I was talking with Chelsea. You know, I think that there is another classification, and, you know, we all hate classifications, but yet we always do it. Intuitive empaths. Yeah. And I often look back now. Hey, Brian, how are you doing? I think, Brian, you're going to be live tonight, aren't you, over on your channel? Brian and I are going to do a show together on the serpent. So, Brian, give us some of the details on it. Hey, Dave Mack, how you doing? No, I did not. Dave is talking about the folks out there, Jeff, Rex, Derek Bros, and others. I think there's about 50 is what I heard. So are they still locked out? I know there's a delay here between you and I. It's time travel. Seriously. I mean, I can go over to what y'all are seeing, but I've already lived it. Oh, yeah. Hey, Gary, how you doing? Let's see. Let's see. I'm trying to see what's happened to the folks out there. I'm an emotional empath. Yeah, Lori, it's true. It's true. You know, if we'd only learned this much earlier in life, we could have saved ourselves a whole lot of pain. So, Lori, how are the spirits doing? I'll tell you, I love that video. Y'all need, you know, go over there and check her videos out as well. But Dave, it's true. It's absolutely true. Okay, so let's talk about, let's see, Great Scott locked out who? Okay, so the last I heard, the group that was going out for the Invent in the Desert. I think that's what it's called. Word got out. There are some negative videos that are out there. You know, again, people just, we can't seem to live and let live. But any case, so I guess, and I don't know how this happens because the National Park Service, and they do have an agreement with the Navajo Nation, but apparently they shut Monument Park down, which that's just weird. Anyway, that's the last I heard. And if anyone else knows any difference, Lit T, yeah, that's what I heard. They closed the park down. Why? I don't know. Maybe they were on to something. And that's what gets me. You know, had they taken the reversed approach and said, yeah, go out there, do y'all's thing, have a good time, respect, you know, the land, and do your thing, it would not have gotten anywhere. It had gone on the course that normally would have been the people who subscribe to the channels and would have seen the individuals in the group reports. But now, because whatever the misunderstanding is, whatever it is, all they've done is even given it greater awareness. So what was the point of this? I have no doubt they are, let's see, accused of being devil worship. Oh, shit. I'm sorry. That is just, do you see how this is getting? I mean, seriously, folks, anyone who could go to YouTube, I mean, any government official, any official of the Navajo Nation, you would just go to their YouTube channels. It's out there. Jeff is turning his, going back to the crystal whistleblower. And devil worship? Never met the devil. Other than looking at myself in the mirror. And that's so often where the devil manifests, isn't it? Good gracious alive. Folks, things have changed. We live in a day and age where we marvel at our technology, but yet our past anchors our souls down. We can't get over our past. I had this spoken to me yesterday. Well, you know, Mad Hatter, cognitive dissonance is good. Mad Hatter will be on Friday Night Live. So this I picked up. In order to go forward, you have to let yesterday go. At some point in time, the past has to stay in the past. If you have a tendency to want to relive old memories, that's a trap. There's nothing wrong having the memories of our experiences, not at all. But some people become very fixated on a particular moment in their timeline. Oh, this is a beautiful segue, by the way. Anyway. And you can't go forward unless you let the past go. I ponder this. Is it the reason why we have amnesia? Because each and every one of us gave up the past in order to experience this thing called life, this limited. And folks, it is a sliver of a hair. In cosmic time, it's not even a blink of an eye. Could it be that we gave up all past lives, all past glories in order to come in here? And what happens on the other end, I still think, and I still debate, no one really knows. Some have experiences, and we know that our physical reality, I contend, is an illusion in as much we think it's one-dimensional, it's physical. It's very obvious to me that it is trans-dimensional. We transcend so many other dimensions in these bodies. It would appear that life is pretty much, if you're born a human, several things are going to be necessities. We've talked about this: shelter, food, clothing, etc. And yet, it's more than that. We know that if you starve a person from a spiritual perspective, that person will have a very difficult time reattaching to that. And because we are, in fact, trans-dimensional beings, all of us in one form or another are going to be drawn to what we call the spiritual side of it. Now, I'm driving a point here. And so all of us go through this experience so often, only viewing it as, at best, a three-dimensional experience. Most people I know are completely asleep. Even the ones who are into their faiths, completely don't care. And it got me to thinking, what if time is the same way? Allow me. You know, I have this prepared, as I always do. Okay, so let's talk a little bit here. So we talk about who broke time, right? That's the whole concept here. And allow me to get to where I want to get to. This is the one, and this is so this is how we perceive time. I have a number of white papers we're going to be looking at. And this is how virtually every person I know, including myself, until recently, this is how we view time, only in one direction. Time can only go forward. We see time in the past, but time seems to have inertia of only one direction, forward. Now, that presents a challenge. We're going to come back to this. Death. That is something awaits all of us. It's a constant until the event happens. So, is time constant? Can time be broken? I postulate to all of you who are watching this that, in fact, the evidence would say the time is broken. Something happened. Someone broke it. Was it us? Someone else? How long has it been broken? Is it breaking more? What's the implications of that? Well, thank you, Hadley, from Cape. Is that Britain? Britain? Yeah. Breton. Well, welcome. So dig this, if you would. I'm going to be going really in depth on this on the radio show tonight over on artistfirst.com. 10 o'clock Eastern time, 8 Mountain, 7 Pacific. So just to let everyone know, the video I did last week about missing time, I have gotten literally, last count, almost 182 emails from people around the world who have experienced just recently, and many of them in this 11:11 to 11:15 time. Others have written me and have said that this is something that they're encountering more and more. We're going to talk here in a second. We're going to look at the science, and then we're going to get into the presentation I put together some time ago about Project Aquarius. Because I contend we're still seeing these ripples. And although I was going to get to Blazar TXS 0506, we'll get to that tomorrow. Because then again, this all has an effect. Is time substance? Is time tangible? Can it be felt? And our perception of time, how solid is that? The conundrum is this, and this is what they found early in aerospace exploration. When we shot Glenn up there, and as we began to get more and more used to that upper atmosphere environment that we call, really, it's not technically outer space, it's still in our atmosphere, but nevertheless, it is free enough of the gravity effect. The thing that we found out was that most of our habitable crafts are about the 225, 250 mile marker up. And even at that, what you could call high altitude, but for space, it still would be low space. Time distillation happens. The Apollo astronauts found that their internal chronometers were different than everyone else's that they had left Earth. There was, in fact, a time, what they call time distillation effect. Time, in its relative perception, is a human-based concept. Time. We assume that all creatures, all intelligence, all life measures time. But time from where? From whom? Now, we have time here on Earth. We ever settle the moon, which we won't, They won't let us. But let's say we did. The conundrum will be the differentiation and sinking of time. We already know that a soul on Mars, a day is different than a day on Earth. Is it still time? Can you still measure? All prophecy is predicated upon time, sometimes ambiguous time, but nevertheless time. If you take the idea of a God, why would a God subjugate itself to a mere mortal's perception of time? Let's see, I have a question. Is the gravity of the Earth strong enough to trap the energy of the soul here? Good question, Hadley. I think no. I'll tell you why. I don't know the life forms that are here. As I said, I'm convinced that we're actually in trans dimensions. I don't think we've figured it out yet spatially. Some of us have. I mean, if I'm having these thoughts and working it out, because the only way that we could have spirits in this dimension, their existence, by the evidence of their existence, is on a different law than ours. I mean, we are transmutable material. Is the spirit, is the soul transmutable? It's the great debate. Can consciousness transcend death, and is consciousness aware of time? It is said that we all know we're going to die. In fact, when death comes, unless it's, again, a blunt trauma, that's something that pulls you out of this body really quick, all of us are going to realize that moment of death. We're going to know that we're dying. That's some heavy stuff, man. I contend, if we continue the way we're going, I don't believe in reincarnation. I think that the whole aspect of reincarnation diminishes the experience of the flesh life. What would you possibly gain by going through this experience again and again and again if you don't remember the errors that you did? It's insanity. And so my contention is, where is Homo Cro-Magnus? Where is Homo deniscens? Where is Homo neanderthalis? What? Reincarnation is only for sapiens? Which version of sapiens? The numbers don't add that up. I don't buy it. It's so finite in its construct that it's an insult to what I call the all. It's so finite to say that you're going to have to come back through this experience again, that you're saying then there is no other experience equated to the flesh. There's no other reality equated to the flesh. Seriously? I ain't buying it. Where the hell are all these people coming from? If you added all the people since the time of supposedly the two, it still doesn't add up. Where are all these new souls coming from? What, have they got a wholesale opening somewhere? Well, Gary, some say it's a choice. I don't know. And the thing is, I'm not going to get all wrapped around the axle about it. It doesn't matter. What matters now is what you're doing here. And so, time. You have a limited amount of time. Unlimited. There's been theory on, does the spirit actually know time? You see, I contend that the spirit is immortal. Therefore, it's above time. It cannot be touched by time. It cannot be influenced by time. The soul, maybe. The spirit, no. Because by definition, if it's immortal, there's no beginning, no end. Robin, it's a good question. What about incarnating from other universes? Listen, I absolutely do believe that's a fact. I cannot believe something that can create all of this makes this the only experience in the flesh. Again, we're trans-dimensional. We transmute. Yeah, I agree, Brad. And it gets into that whole point about time. How can the spirit be impacted by time? The flesh, get it. The soul, it's great debate whether we actually have a soul or not. But let's just say, for the sake of this discussion, we do. Well, I don't think the soul is eternal. I don't. There's teachings by Hermes, the Emerald Tablets, that would suggest as much. I believe that there is a separation of spirit and soul, as there is with the body at death. I believe that my spirit, your spirit, is of the one spirit. We can manifest into many different realities and will. Dave, many people think that as well. I don't know. You see, because I don't believe in the concept of hell. I'm getting off subject here, but I'm just interacting with y'all and I'm enjoying it. I don't believe in the concept of hell. Hell in itself, it cannot exist. It's illogical. What are you being punished for? By whom and by what? I've had this discussion. We'll just get it out here today. For all of you who believe that you were born in sin, seriously, wake up. How ridiculous is it? So, if you believe mankind was born in sin, which man? Homo erectus? Homo Cro-Magnus? Neanderthal? Denison? Which version of man sinned? And against what God? It's asinine. It's asinine. It's the biggest control matrix you've ever been locked under. Man has never sinned. Never. There is no such thing as sin. And until you can answer my question, which version of man? Just tell me. And don't be a smartass about it. Be intellectual about it. Which version of man? Let me tell you about baptism. There's another biggest freaking lie. When are you people going to wake up? There never was a John the Baptist. Baptism was never part of the Judaic faith. Never is today. If such an individual was propagating such a thing, he'd have been stoned to death. How do you say, Chris, then describe heaven? Seriously, what the freak is heaven? It's ambiguous. What are you going to do? What is heaven? Do you mean to say that you think your next existence is going to have no struggle? Wake up, sunshine. Every existence will have its battles. Dave, I agree. That's cute. Anyway, folks, I mean, we've got to get out of this mindset. If you always think that you're lesser, you'll never become superior. And who's going to judge me? On whose standards? On whose faith? No God can judge any human, and I'm going to tell you why. Because no God has gone through the birthright. Show me one. Show me a God. Show me any God. Show me any God that's manifested before humanity. You can't. It's never happened. And to all those Christians out there, is God a Christian? Is God a Muslim? Is God a Hindi? Is God a Buddhist? Is God a Taoist? It's messed up, man. It's nuts. It really is. I mean, when you just stop, and you can't go on with all of this, Jesus Christ, this, and that, and that. Answer the question. What would be the purpose of a Jesus Christ? If man has never sinned, what would be the purpose? What would be the necessity? Every religious book is a book of channelers. It was channeled. One day. It's just, folks, just think about it. If you can't name me the species of who Adam was, then why were all the other species of man destroyed, eliminated? I mean, seriously? The advancement of our species, Homo, which means man, the genus of our species, we reach this point of this magnificent intelligence, and somehow that's sin? Ay. It's more intense than any acid trip I ever took. Oh, okay. It's crazy, folks. It's like time. So let's get back on point with a little bit of time we got left. Oh, what a, well, this is live. So I did a video last week, y'all know, the time, missing time, 11/15/18. That video has gone viral. For me, it's gone viral. It's gotten over 55,000 views, is continuing to get between 5,000 and 7,000 views a day. Again, nearly 200 emails from people all over the world experiencing missing time. I've had a number of emails, folks, that people just simply will tell you the loved one, husband, wife, mother, is not the same. It is said there exists a device known as the looking glass device, alien technology held by the Americans that allows, when activated, to see filaments of strands of time showing an infinite possible futures. It is said that in 2005, man breached the quantum filament and went so far as to bring actual substance from another dimension and fractured the time filament of this plane. It is said that outsiders from other parts of the galaxy became aware of this and are working to reverse the effects that we are experiencing. It is said that other world powers know, and some are acting in rogue manner and compounding the problem. What's happened here? What am I talking about? I did a video. Again, I'll show you the device that we are speaking of. I should do this again. It's a great presentation. If y'all haven't seen it, go back. So here's the problem. There is the drawings. Those who have seen this device is what they say. It's in an area called S4. This device, when activated, here is detailed outside schematic drawings of those who have been next to it. This is an artist's rendition of testimony of what the device looks like when it's activated. You know, who the hell knows? We may be looking at the holy grail of all things, but the way we have been conditioned to, to doubt even the truth, most people choose to believe the lie than the truth. But then again, all lives are but half truths, as all truths are but half lies. This is interesting because in the looking glass room, it's, as you can see, here it is. And they actually have these teleportation devices that really, they know the science. They have the knowledge of actually forming wormholes. Who knows? They are connected with the Anunnaki, the Sumerians. They use the same language. This is when the device becomes active. Now, the thing about it is this device does not change time. It shows you filaments of time, of future time. The device can also, apparently, because time is not linear. I keep on trying to tell you, think in multi-dimensions of how time can begin to get factored in. You can see the pads here that somehow or another the machine, the looking glass device, is involved in some of this activation. So this is where we are in developing warp drive. You can see this is part of the presentation as well. We're understanding the gamma magnetic fields. We're understanding how this begins to interact with reality, time, magnetism, electromagnetism. Theoretically, we should be able to walk through multiple dimensions of physical matter. Not just this one, not this universe, but multiple verses. I think we will, in fact, get to this point. Einstein said the problem was getting to C, not exceeding C. And that's where apparently much of the technology is driving towards. Now, the question begins, are these ripples, these portals, these alterations now of quantum tunneling, have we breached one of these time filaments? Wherever we are today in your imagination, the founder of Northrop, on his deathbed, said, wherever you think we are, he says, look 200 years ahead. That's where we are. No wonder we're seeing strange things. I don't know how far this has gone, but if extraterrestrials are here, have visited man, are different species on this planet, they have to be far more superior than the sapiens. We can't figure out what God is or God isn't. You can never get to this type of evolution until you start solving some of the basic quandaries. But apparently, now the question is, are these wormholes large enough for solar systems, galaxies? Some postulate that we are being drawn into a wormhole, not a dark hole, a wormhole. I don't know. Apparently, the technology does exist, or at least theoretically. And if it exists theoretically, then that tells me then we have our physicists all over this already. Who knows how long? We know it's not possible to travel, even interplanetarial, and the time delays. Mars is a 6-month journey. We can't travel even the galaxy. No species can. The distances are too vast. There has to be a way that they're traveling. Do they transmutate? What? We're understanding more and more about matter. And what we're finding is that time is like Einstein said. Time is relative. So this is the transformation generator. Who knows if this is real? Seems to be that there's enough detailed to show how the doctrine of convergence timeline paradox can be solved. Now, what I find so interesting about this particular graphic is that I can use, hello, Chelsea Rose, Phoenix Rising, I can use No-Eye's experience, her detail, to validate this. If you read the book or go back and listen to the videos on the Phoenix Rising, we understand that time is like a river. You can be close to the river, you can actually be in the river, you can actually exit from a point in the river and get back into the river at the same point. And that it is not one way only. I know it seems paradoxical. The rest of this just gets into much more detailed drawings of how these devices begin to work. Again, this is a fascinating, I'll do this video on this. We'll get more into it. But anyway, I digress. So getting back to where we are in our discussion is the relevancy of time itself. Now, allow me to pull up some articles here. This is from Wired.com back in 2013. This has been an issue, folks. Listen, if the venture capitalists are funding these projects, they're not doing it because they're good guys. That's how it works. Time crystals. Because what we're realizing that the perception of time is so great. Scientists suggest space-time has no dimension, no time dimension. Now, this is crazy. So they say that you begin by explaining how we usually assume that time is an absolute physical quantity that plays the role of the independent variable. Time is often the x-axis on graphs that show the evolution of a physical system. But as they note, we never really measure time. What we do is that we measure is an object frequency, speed, etc., vibration, etc. In other words, what experimentally exists are the motion of an object and the tick of the clock. And we compare the object's motion to the tick of the clock to measure the object's frequency, speed, etc. By itself, time has only a mathematical value and no primary physical existence. You are an immortal spirit. You can't experience time. You can subject yourself into it. But the crazy thing is, it's a thought. It's a concept. It's a construct made out of nothing. You can say, well, wait a minute. Well, I can look in the past. Doesn't matter. The past doesn't exist. It's an illusion. The arrow of time. Time appears to have a direction, to be inherently directional. The past lies behind us and is fixed and immutable and accessible by memory or written documentation. The future, on the other hand, lies ahead and is not necessarily fixed. And although we can perhaps predict it to some extent, we have no firm evidence or proof of it. Most of the events we experience are irreversible. For example, it's easy for us to break an egg and hard, if not impossible, to unbreak an already broken egg. It appears inconceivable to us that this progression could go in any other direction, This one-way direction, or asymmetry is what it's called, of time is often referred to as the arrow of time. And it is what gives us the impression of time passing, of our progressing through different moments. The arrow of time, then, is the uniform and unique direction associated with apparent inevitable flow of time into the future. The idea of an arrow of time was first explored and developed to any degree by the British astronomer and physicist Sir Arthur Eddington back in 1927, and the origin of the phrase is usually attributed to him. With what interested Eddington is that exactly the same arrow of time would apply to an alien race on the other side of the universe as it applies to us. Is there, therefore, nothing? It is therefore nothing to do with our biological or physiology, but with the way the universe is. The arrow of time is not the same thing as time itself, but a feature of the universe and its contents and the way it has evolved. Dang. It doesn't exist. That's the crazy. That's why I stopped wearing watches years ago. When I was in the corporate world, I was held to this imaginary device. Yeah, I know. We watch the sun go across the sky, blah, blah, blah. I get that. I get it. But that's movement. We're measuring movement and then associate time with that movement. Again, how is a mortal spirit affected by time? It can't be. Time is not absolute. Time is relative. Again, time dilation and length contraction are a consequence of relativity. This means we'll be pulling out everything in the physics 101 to explain it. This is a great one because when you begin to get in here, you find out that speed, gravitation, motion, these are things that are in fact constant, tangible, but time is not. Weird. Here's one. We know how time is related to relative movement. We would sense that the time experience of fast-moving objects at the edge of the viewable universe is much slower than our own experience of time. We attempt to use this time dilation as a test to reinforce our suspicion that the universe is expanding. So far, observations of A1 supernova and other phenomena seem to verify this. However, we are not 100% certain that the expansion of the universe is real. It is simply our best working hypothesis at present. For example, the distance between hydrogen clouds and the distance between galaxies in the early universe seem to be the same as the distance we see now. Why? What? If the universe has been expanding for the last 14 billion years or so, we would expect to see them closer together in the past than they are today. Time dilation. This has confounded us. The greatest minds, Newton, Einstein, Hawkins. I mean, the list goes on. Freeman. I mean, I can just go on and on. This has been something, and it's the thing that doesn't give us the unified theory. We can't find it because we got this thing called time. And lastly, Silicon Valley's approach, AI's approach, is let me build crystals. Isn't it odd that wasn't it the crystal that was the primary propulsion of the next generation Starship? I don't know. I do know. It was. So, a conundrum. So what is it that we're experiencing? Where are these gaps coming from? I mean, I contend if the Mandela effect, which has been documented, They're changing history, even with documentation. So that argument now is in question. How do we validate this whole thing we call the past? Can crystals teleport us? Going to have Karen on here on the 14th, Queen of Quartz. I'm beginning to think that there are things our ancestors knew. They were some smart people. And there's a reason why they burned the library at Alexandria. There's a reason they burned the library at Constantinople. There's a reason they have barred humanity from the vaults that has hijacked man's knowledge, the Vatican. And even now, the great oracle is flawed. We're seeing time dilation. And distillation is a fact when you think about it, how time can be distilled. Memory can. I got a external hard drive. This thing's got 8 terabytes of memory. You can put your whole life here. Everything. Now you think about 20 years ago, we could have never done that. We could have never extracted and then reduced knowledge to such small bits. Their God is just a computer. Yeah, I remember that episode, Dave. I think that this is part of this emergence that's happening. Awakening, questioning. We're emerging. I just don't know how serious it becomes. I mean, is it something that you and I can just say, well, yeah, these are great intellectual discussions. This is what philosopher and philosophies do. You know, we're all philosophers here. But then when we start going out there and begin to get tangible evidence, because that's what philosophy leads to. Philosophy just lays it out there and says, is it possible? Science benefits because philosophy gives science its inertia. So I think the bottom line to us as I close out on this, we are immortal spirits. And so this whole thing, is time unbreakable? I think time is breakable. I think it's already broken. Think about this as I leave you. So you can say, well, I believe in predeterminism, or I believe in the randomness of chance, or I believe in destiny, that destiny has its purpose and place in all of us. So a life that's cut short due to an accident, tragedy. And let's say the accident was accidental. And that life was lost, let's say, at the age of 15. I ask you, before that soul, that spirit came in, are you saying that it was already determined that they were not going to experience the full life? And why is it that our species endeavors to live forever, yet we despise old people? We make fun of them. Why are you living then? Go ahead and put it there if you're 20 years old. I mean, come on, folks. If the goal is to live as long as you can in these bodies, yet we fear old age. We ridicule senior citizens. We just disrespect them. Our culture has become anti-senior agers, but yet everybody wants to live forever. All right, folks, I appreciate you. Y'all are just the best. I just invoke favor over you this day, and that my constant confession over your lives is that there be nothing missing, nothing broken in your lives. And folks, we're just going to continue on. I mean, time. It says that time is the great equalizer of all men. Well, that would make time a foe. I'm just enjoying the ride, and, again, when my time is done here, I'll get out, and who knows what we'll see after that. As they say, I'm a traveler of both time and space, right? All will be revealed. All right, folks, I appreciate it. You never die. It's just a new experience. The thing is that we base everything that we perceive on this existence right here. And the illusion is that, folks, it's just part of it. There'll be a lot more going on. All right, folks, I'll see you later tonight if you listen to the internet. If not, I'll see you tomorrow at noon. And tomorrow evening, we'll have Mad Hatter, Code Breaker. It'll be interesting. All right, folks, I appreciate all of you. You're the best. Thank you for enriching my journey. And I hope I've returned the blessing back to you. All right, folks, we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.